So again, I'm here with Hilary Halstead Scott, and this is the final session of Monday, Halstead Grant FAQs. Hilary is the president of Halstead Jewelry Supplies, and she founded the grant program in 2006 after returning to the family business in 2002. She has her MBA and Master's in International Management and is passionate about helping small business owners succeed. And that's where the grant comes from, the toolkit, and all of these resources we have for you. So without any further ado, I'm going to give it over to Hilary, and I will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, post them in there, and at the end, we'll do a Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. I love seeing all this in the chat, but I'm actually going to hide it because otherwise I get really distracted because I think it's so fun to say hi to everybody and see all of these names that I know. I'm really glad you're here. Just kind of an aside, I'm trying to set up like some regional networking chats in the lobby of the event too, so you all can make connections like you would at a real event. So if you're interested in doing that, connect with me in the Zoom app in the event, and let me know where you're from and that you want to be connected with others. And I'm going to try and kind of put together these regional groups so you can have like some off-session discussions and meet other jewelers. I think that's what it's all about. But you are in this session to learn about the Halstead Grant. So let me share my screen and we will get things underway. All righty, I think we're all set. So I'm going to spend about the first 30-40 minutes kind of giving you a lot of information based on questions we've gotten about the grant program over the years. So we get questions every single year. I'm going to try and address all of the things that we hear from potential applicants. And then we will definitely have time at the end for some Q&A. So go ahead and be posting your questions in the chat. Kelly's going to kind of pull some of those for us to go through at the end of the presentation. And we'll also give you contact information in case we don't get to your particular questions in the session today. So if you don't know a lot about the grant program, maybe you just heard about it for the first time in our welcome session this morning. I'm really glad you're interested in the program. We're super proud of it here at Halstead. I developed this program like 17 years ago now, and it was in response to our jewelry making community and things we saw in the business for so many years. It is really hard as a jeweler to take time away from the bench and like go through these planning exercises and learn about small business management. It's definitely outside of the comfort zone for most jewelers. So you are not alone. This is tough stuff. We wanted to incentivize jewelers to go through this process because we see that it makes a really big difference in the success of jewelry artists and their businesses. So this program is all about developing as many jewelers as we possibly can, not just the winners and finalists. We want to connect you with resources and community and make sure that you take the time away from the bench to kind of go through this exercise. It's challenging, but you can do it, and we are totally here to support you. All right, so a shout out to our most recent class of grant finalists and our winner, Opio Majola out of New York. We are super proud of this class of grant finalists and our winner. It's an amazing group of emerging artists, and you can kind of click through their websites on the grant website. Kelly will put that link in the chat right now. You can go through each year's class of winners and finalists and kind of explore just some really impressive emerging talent. One of the things we love about this program is that you can be in jewelry for a lifetime, but you still see fresh ideas, new ideas in the business side and the design side every single year. There's just so much creativity out there in the jewelry world. So you all inspire us. Thank you. We have some big changes this year for the Halstead Grant. We are kind of shaking it up a little bit in the way we do finalists and the winner, but this gives you an overview of the prize packages for our winner and finalists for the year. We're actually going to be recognizing a smaller group of finalists this year so we can increase the size of the cash prize to those finalists and also provide them just more time and attention in the feedback process. Consistently year to year, we hear from people that one of the most valuable things about the grant program is not just the money, it's the individual feedback report that every finalist receives from the judges. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later on in the presentation. One of the things that we really enjoy at Halstead, and I think our winners all do too, is that we do invite every single winner for an all expense paid trip out here to Halstead headquarters, which we really enjoy spending time with them, getting to know them, and giving them a lot of one-on-one consult time with different members of our team to kind of further support their initiative as a new business startup. So this is kind of a once in a lifetime experience to come here to Prescott, to meet all of us, to spend some time, to explore this beautiful part of the country. Northern Arizona is not just cactus, it is in the mountains, it is gorgeous. So there's a lot to see here. And I think our winners really enjoy just a unique experience. As part of the visit, we invite every one of them to either do an artist talk for our team or to teach a class in our in-house studio where we put all of our employees through metalsmithing workshops to make sure they understand the techniques that our customers use and the products that we sell so they can provide great service and support to everyone we work with here at Halstead. We really are a small jewelry business studio resource in every sense, and so we want to make sure we build those experiences for our team. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of the changes this year to the program. I know a lot of people apply multiple years, so I want to just kind of highlight some of the key things. The first one is that we are moving the deadline earlier. The deadline is now going to be May 1st moving forward, a little bit earlier in the year. We're also going to be providing links right in the grant application that will take you straight to resources, interactive worksheets, and all the tools you need to complete your application. All of that support is free, just like applying for the grant is free. We're not charging you for any of this stuff. We want to get these resources to as many people as possible. So given that that deadline is coming up pretty soon, it's just like 4 months away, we do recommend that you get started on your application pretty soon so that you can move through it kind of slowly and thoughtfully, connect with help where you need it on your application, spend any research time that you need to. This isn't a process that you can go through in a weekend. You'll need to kind of take your time. It's pretty involved. So now's the time to be started. JBF is the perfect kickoff. This is boot camp for your business this week. All right, so the application consists of a number of sections. We do request a jewelry portfolio submission of photographs. And then we have written sections to the application that are broken down into 3 main headings. And Kelly, if you haven't already, go ahead and post the grant website. You can download the application there now if you haven't already. And you can be following along, or you can do it after. Don't worry, you don't need to have it in front of you for this presentation. But the 3 written sections of the application are talking about your jewelry collection and business. The second section is digging into your marketing and your sales strategy. And the final section, the most challenging section, is the capacity finance and planning section of the application. So, you know, just take your time. That's like my #1 tip. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But if you start early and you use all the resources available to you, this becomes a really high value experience. If you try and rush it at the end, I know it's going to be super stressful and difficult. So I don't want any of you to put yourselves through that. Start early, maybe set aside an hour every week, a couple hours maybe every week, so you can kind of chip away. Some sections you'll move through really quickly, and others are definitely going to kind of hang you up a little bit. They're going to take more time and research. So plan for that now. All right, we get a lot of questions about eligibility and how we define an emerging artist in this award. So let's dig into those things. Every program that's out there, every award or competition defines emerging artists a little bit differently. And this is the way we define it. If you don't qualify, if you're not eligible to apply for the grant, we still really encourage you to download the application, use that as kind of a business planning guide, and all of the associated resources. They can be helpful for businesses at any stage. But for our particular competition, we are looking for people who are students or jewelry designers who intend to go full-time with this. That's a really important criteria. If you are looking to do this as kind of a side hustle, maybe just some extra income, but not a real full-time career, then this is not the grant opportunity for you. This is a program to launch small businesses that are going to at least support you and your household, if not maybe employees one day, maybe not. That's not required, but we're hoping to help launch startups here. We're looking for people who have a cohesive collection of metal jewelry, and that must contain at least a line of sterling or fine silver elements. There are a lot of programs out there for fine jewelers, and we find that there is much less support for people in the bridge or middle segments of jewelry. So we are really hoping to fill that gap with this program because we think it fills not only an important gap in the industry, but also in the consumer market. There's a lot of great art jewelry out there in a lot of different materials. And again, we want to make sure that there's recognition and opportunity available for jewelers of all stripes, not just the fine jewelers. We want to make sure that our applicants intend to sell at least a national level so that they have broad reach with their business. And that way it's kind of an even playing field for all of our applicants who are looking to kind of sell nationally at that same level. The next criteria is that you must have started selling your jewelry for the first time sometime after January 1st, 2018. So we're defining emerging artists as those who began selling in the last 5 years, and we'll dig into that a little bit more in the next slide. And then the final requirement is that our applicants must be US citizens or have a permanent resident green card. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more too. International jewelers, we love you, you're amazing, but there's some real reasons for this, and I want to make sure you understand what they are. All right, so starting to sell your jewelry within the last 5 years. The only exemption we offer for this is people who began selling jewelry for the first time while they were full-time students in either high school or college. We know sometimes you do an exhibition or something in small scale things as a student. Those sales years wouldn't disqualify you during your student time, but anything beyond that probably would. So if you've kind of moved in and out of jewelry, you were away from it for a while, but now you're coming back into it, we really consider your jewelry start time as the first time you started selling your jewelry, not just the most recent time. So kind of keep that in mind. If you have questions about your eligibility and timeline, Kelly's going to put an email in the chat right now for grant@halsteadb.com. We know those aren't like public discussions we'll have here in the webinar, but you can definitely shoot us your scenario if you're looking to kind of understand your eligibility on this particular criteria. So since there is this 5-year window, we allow applicants to apply multiple times, up to 3 times total in your window of eligibility. Another tip is that we notice that jewelers who are brand new, maybe they have a year or less of time, they're often not quite ready and not quite competitive among their peer applicants because it's just too soon. So it's not required that you wait until your 2nd or 3rd year to apply for the first time, but we encourage it. You can definitely use the grant application as kind of a tool to start building your business. But you're going to learn so much in that first year. It's killer, and people can probably post in the chat a little bit about that. But first year is really, really tough. You're really just finding your footing. So sometimes you need to kind of go through a full annual cycle first, especially because our field is unusually seasonal and rhythmic on the annual calendar. So at least getting through one full cycle of the year is going to teach you a lot about the jewelry business. All right, so digging into that timeline a little bit more, these are things that we don't consider as reset points on that eligibility clock. So just changing a business name, getting a new license or documentation, starting with a new technique or material, or coming back after a hiatus, those would not reset the clock on that 5-year window. So I'm sorry about that. Use the resources, dig into this, but you're not eligible for this particular competition. All right, and we get a lot of questions from our international community every year, and I totally get your frustration on this, but I want you to understand why we keep the Halstead Grant program just for US applicants. So we mostly judge this program using our internal leadership team here at Halstead. And we invite a guest judge every year. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we are all based in the United States. We all have a lot of experience in the United States jewelry market, but it is a unique market. Every country is truly unique, and there are very different factors that play into success and opportunity in each country, and you cannot compare them from one to the other. So I could not tell you how to be a successful jeweler in Ireland or Japan. I just can't. I don't know it. I haven't spent time there. I don't have the industry experience there. And I think that would be disingenuous to try and judge applications from those other markets and cultures. It's just totally, totally different. Now, that's wonderful. And we really want to support those international jewelers too. So again, we invite you to use the resources, but we want you to understand why that's kind of difficult in practice. So please forgive us and, dig in as much as you can with what we have available. And just know this isn't a design competition. It really is a business plan competition. So those things matter a lot. We need to be able to assess them fairly. All right. So other criteria, I think I already mentioned, you must intend to become a full-time jeweler. We're looking to support startup small businesses, not just side hustles, even though I think side hustles are amazing and it's a great way to run a jewelry business and get some extra income. That's not really what the grant program is all about. So we want to be launching new small businesses that are going to move forward. We're really, really proud to say that nearly all of our past grant winners are still in this as full-time jewelers, and I think that says a lot. All right, so let's get into some tips for success and what we see among applicants that really makes people stand out and do well in the competition. The first is a professional presentation. We ask that you physically mail in your submission every year. We get these like piles of folders and binders around the office, but it's important that we have kind of a physical presentation from your business. It says a lot about you. Really, these should be branded. They should be neat and tidy. They should be organized. The questions should be pretty clearly labeled. It should be concise and easy for us to read and clearly understand your answers and your strategy. It's totally fine to use bullet points in places or charts or visuals. We're not looking for a novel here. Our time is really precious during judging. This is a super intense month at Halstead. So, there is no extra points for word count, really. Being brief is totally fine. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on this either. You can print it out on a home computer or in a copy shop if you want to. You can just go to an office supply store or a Target or something, just get a folder and a 3-ring binder and punch it. That's all you have to do. We're not looking for something that's done by a professional consultant or anything like that. It just needs to be a neat and tidy presentation. And it should reflect your business, your personality, your brand. We want to see the way you convey that to an outside audience. We also want to let you know that your entire business is the application. So when I am judging, and I know our whole team is like this, we bring applications into our offices. I sit at this very same desk. I spread it all out on the desk in front of me. I bring up your website. I bring up your social media sites. I'm Googling you. Everything about you on the internet is really part of your application. We want to make sure that our applicants are presenting a professional business out there to the public. So all of that comes into play because that's the real world, folks. Your whole online persona is a representation of your business, and people are going to assess your business and your professionalism based on all of those things. So we consider all of that part of the whole package. And we really want to see that you are the whole package, that you have all of those kind of pieces in play. All right, so if you have downloaded the application, you'll see this is a screenshot straight from the page. If not, that's okay, you can kind of see it here. This is the first section of the grant application. And it's what we talked about before. It's questions about your jewelry collection and your business, a little bit of information about you, how you got started. We want you to be able to articulate what the signature design elements are of your collection, what makes your work your work. You need to be able to describe that not just to us, but to clients when you're standing in a trade show. My work is X, Y, and Z. This is what defines my style and my aesthetic. Those are things you need to be able to articulate. We want to hear about your pricing strategy. That doesn't mean we need you to spit back a formula. We want you to explain, you know, what your thought process is when you set your prices, why you price them the way that you do, and how that works in the jewelry market. This is a tough question. It's going to require some time and thought and some research. So that's why we've got some resources here for you. You can click on these QR codes, get into our Pricing Your Jewelry article. We've got videos and a webinar there, a lot for you to kind of think about and dig into. So we know that's a tough question. It's meant to challenge you, but you can do it. We also really want to know who your competition is. And I will give you another tip here. Every year we get applicants who tell us they have no competition. That's not true. Every jeweler has not just some competition, you have a lot of competition, and you need to get real about it. So we want you to specify 3 brands, large or small, who you think compete for the same audience of buyers. And you need to understand who they are and how you kind of measure up in that field of competition. This is part of business. It's there. So we want you to kind of think about it. I know that's an uncomfortable thing to think about. But again, this is part of running a small jewelry business, and you can do it. You can totally tackle this. All right. The next session uses some of those resources that were on the prior page, but actually we have a ton of resources on marketing and sales on our website, in our blogs, and in our past videos. There's so much for you to dig into here. So you can kind of go down a rabbit hole on the blog page once you start looking for business topics and marketing topics. There's a lot. We want you to talk about your branding, the key visuals you plan to use. What are your signature colors? Maybe your fonts, any imagery or emotive words that you want to associate with your brand that will communicate to your audience who you are. We want you to understand who your target buyers are and the image you're wishing to project to them. So what patterns do you see among people who are attracted to your work? How are you going to reach them? A target audience analysis really helps you to kind of tune in your message to speak directly to the people who are going to resonate with your aesthetic, right? And it also kind of helps you identify places to find them. You know, where do they shop? What do they like to do? What do you have in common with them? What's their community like? How are you going to reach them with your marketing? Those are all things to kind of look at with your target buyer definition. We want to know where you plan to sell your jewelry, how you plan to do it, your strategy for approaching retailers and galleries. If that's part of your strategy, it doesn't have to be. You can say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. That's your call. Number 6 is a really tough question, and that is your elevator pitch. And I want to talk about this for a minute because it's kind of a weird concept. A lot of people haven't heard of an elevator pitch before. This is meant to be a very short 1 to 2 sentence explanation of who you are and what you sell. And the reason this is important is because it becomes the foundation of your sales skills. The first time you have to stand at a booth or man a trunk show event for a retailer, people are going to walk up to you and they expect you to introduce yourself. So you need to understand what to say that captures their attention and leaves them wanting more. So that's what a great elevator pitch will do for you. We've got really strong resources on this to help guide you through crafting an elevator pitch. And moving beyond just the basic, I'm Hilary and I make handmade jewelry that makes every woman feel beautiful. That's something that we hear from a lot of jewelers. It's not going to set you apart. So you're going to have to kind of get creative and think about this a little bit more. So this is a place where a lot of applicants can really set themselves apart with a strong, concise elevator pitch. And the cool thing about this and a lot of the application is this is not just an academic exercise. You are going to use it when you go to shows and do these trunk shows that we're talking about, and you're going to watch it work and you're going to watch it sell more jewelry. So again, like everything in this application is meant to build a stronger business for you. This is not for us. This is to help you grow and build that foundation. All right. So we want to see an honest assessment of the skills you have to run your business and the skills you don't have. If you don't have a skill for the business, that's okay. None of us can do everything. Believe me, none of us can do everything, but you need to get honest about what you're good at and what you're not. And those places where there may be a weakness for you, you need to kind of have a plan for that. I'm either going to educate myself in this way and try and build this skill. I'm going to work to the point where I can outsource this piece because I know it's not my strength. I'm going to look for support in my community and in the small business community to try and connect with tools that'll help me with this thing. That is a real challenge for me. Those are all thought processes and mindsets that define successful entrepreneurs. It's knowing what you're good at and what you're not, and still figuring out how to address those things that you are not strong at. All right. We want to know how you're planning to spend your grant award. Hopefully it's not going on a great vacation, even though we all need great vacations. We want to see that you're investing in something meaningful to help you kind of level up and grow. All right, the last section is definitely the toughest, and it's the toughest for everyone. So we're looking for a little bit of a strategic plan here. We're looking at specific sales goals in dollars and pieces, and also kind of your anticipated business costs. We're looking for you to analyze what your production capacity is in work you can make with your own hands and tools that you have, and how you plan to adapt that capacity as your business grows. We also want you to do an analysis to determine when you're going to break even, and most importantly, when you will be able to draw a sustainable, livable salary for where you live. That's the whole goal of this, folks, right? It's for you to build a great career and support yourself. So we want to see that you have crunched the numbers to determine what you have to do to get there. Now, this is tough. You're not going to sit down and write this just kind of off the top of your head. You're going to have to think about this. And these are sections where you may need to get some help and some additional resources. And we're going to give you some connections that are going to really help you with these tough sections of the application. Well, we're going to circle back to that, because first I want to tell you a little bit about some of the patterns we see among our past 17 winners, 16, 17. I don't know, where are we? They definitely have some things in common, but anyone can win. We see a tremendous breadth in styles, backgrounds, people who have a really official, impressive jewelry education, people who don't, who are self-taught or come from an entirely different profession. There aren't barriers to this application process. We don't charge a fee to apply to this competition. You are not required to have a college degree or any kind of certification. Everything you need to tackle all of this small business planning is available for free on the internet, either through Halstead or other resources. So there are coaching services and consulting services that are wonderful that charge for those services, but you do not need those to win. And a lot of our past winners, you know, they do this on their own. It is very possible to do if you really commit to it. You know, like I said, there's a lot of resource out there available to you. You just have to kind of connect with it and put the time and effort in. Candidates who do well, like I mentioned before, we see generally that it's people who have been at it at least a couple, you know, of years already. They've got at least 1 year behind them to kind of learn some things, get those experiences, and understand the landscape of the jewelry field, because that's something that you kind of have to learn about and get your bearings. We see customers who have had face-to-face experiences with their clients and their audience learn and adapt very quickly, right? You get so much feedback from these in-person encounters at craft shows and trunk shows and expositions and things like that. You need to hear from people what they say when they see your jewelry, or the expressions on their face, or the wearability when they try something on, or when they just kind of off the cuff are talking to their friend next to them and say, these are nice, but I wish they were smaller, or I wish it was bigger, or I wish this booth offered something in this price range. You know, those are priceless points of feedback that you cannot get without those in-person encounters. Candidates who use the resources and tools. We find that some people really try and just wing it, and they don't dig into any of the tools that we provide. When they wing it, they generally don't do as well. They don't cover all the bases. It's not as thorough and thoughtful. So use the tools. You don't have to use like our formatting and print things out exactly as they are. You can definitely make it your own and however you want, but at least go through the process to make sure that you're kind of covering all of the key highlights. Candidates who learn how to get help. Again, successful entrepreneurs get help. Even if you are the only employee in your business, you will have a team of support around you. That's not just your family. You're going to start to kind of build out your small business network of supporting organizations, companies, people. All of that is really, really important. There is no such thing as a one-man island in small business. Some of those resources we're going to talk a little bit more about are mentors and advisors from free resources like SCORE and small business development centers. We're going to give you ways to connect with them. We also see jewelers who have apprenticed or worked for other small jewelry businesses tend to have a leg up just because they see how a small jewelry business operates. They learn a lot about a lot of things: shipping, customer service, returns, quality control, complaints, listings on a website, all of that stuff. If you get a chance to work for another jeweler, take that chance, tell them, I want to do this myself one day. I'm looking to learn. I'm looking to apprentice. There are a lot of jewelers out there who need studio assistants. Hopefully you'll be one of them one day as your business grows. So there are these opportunities, and it's an investment of time that really pays off in terms of those early startup years in your business and how you can kind of shortcut a lot of the real sticking points that we see small jewelers experience. And then candidates who tackle the numbers. The numbers are there. They may be tough, but they're there whether you dig into them or not. So you need to just kind of embrace that as one of the challenges of running your own business, and go for it. You can get this figured out for sure. And that's definitely something we hear as a point of feedback from our past participants, that like it was really uncomfortable to get into some of these like capacity and finance questions. I had never done that before. I had no idea where to start or what to do. But I'm really proud of myself now that I did it, and I see the value in it, and I see how much stronger I am as a business owner now that I have that experience, and I really took the time to understand it better. All right, so some other key tips, things we're looking for in your application answers. All of our winners, every single one of them, has a strategy that will get them to a living wage in the next 3 years or so. If you are not going to be able to break even or pay your rent in 4 or 5 years, we're not going to give you a small business grant. You're not ready. You've got to figure out a way to make this a real sustainable living for you to keep going. Like, you can't keep doing it if you can't afford to, if it's not supporting you and providing for you and your family, if you are helping to support a family. So that's, again, not an academic exercise. That's not for us. That's for you. This is to make sure that you are starting a business that's going to last and that's going to do well. And the proof is in the pudding. Again, nearly all of our winners are still at this full time running independent small businesses. That says a lot. That's not an easy thing to do. And if you look at the survival of small businesses more broadly in the US, it is much, much lower. So these preparation steps are going to help you be successful. All right, so one of the biggest secrets, this is not a secret, but one of the biggest tips I can get you right now while you are in this session, before you forget or procrastinate, Google SCORE office near me and SBDC near me. Kelly can also put some website links in the chat. That may take her a minute because I just threw that curveball at her. But these are tremendous resources that are available for free to people in the United States trying to start small businesses. So both of these organizations are subsidiaries of the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. It is a federal agency that is federally funded. 95% of what these organizations do is absolutely free. They provide consulting, mentoring, workshops, on-demand webinars, everything you need to start a small business. If you want to know how to register your business, get your sales tax license, get established in your state, get a bank account, they are going to help walk you through all of those things, not just through remote online webinars, but with an office you can walk into and sit down with a person who will help you. They will sit down with just you and help you. Like, this is so invaluable, and it's totally free. Like, you're crazy if you don't give this a shot. Every SCORE and SBDC office is a little bit different. I am willing to bet there is at least one, if not several, within 100 miles of you. This is worth taking a day, setting an appointment, and going to sit down with them. What you can do before then, though, is register yourself on their websites and get connected with their email list. So especially once you connect with your local office, make sure you subscribe to their local email list. That way you're going to find out about their events, their workshops, their consulting hours, and their business hours. They're all going to have information about how to set an appointment and sit down with a counselor. Again, these are no-fee sessions, so do it. You can also go into them with your grant application and say, I want to start a business. I need a business plan, but I also want to apply for this grant. Here are the questions, and here's this capacity question that I don't know how to tackle. And they will connect you with resources to help you in a very personal way. I just can't speak highly enough of these organizations and what they do for small businesses. So make sure you connect with them today before the end of the day, and then share that information with all your jeweler friends, because it's pretty amazing what they do. Okay, so SBDCs and SCORE offices deal with small businesses more broadly. And something that you really need to start thinking about is defining yourself as a small business, not just a jewelry artist, because you're both. And you're going to miss out on a lot of great resources if you don't kind of consider yourself part of that small business community. We also offer our toolkit. Kelly's going to put a link in the chat right now. This is another free resource. It's a lot more in-depth than the grant application because it's meant to serve jewelers at every stage of their careers. But you can dip into this kind of for additional insights and resources. It's a really strong tool, and it's very specific to jewelers. So this, in tandem with some of the more general small business resources, is going to kind of help you tackle whatever comes your way in the grant application and also in your small business trajectory ahead. All right, last few slides here, and then we're going to get to some Q&A. We want to explain a little bit about how judging works because everybody's curious, right? Each year we bring in an outside guest judge to help us with fresh eyes, fresh perspective. We invite people from all different corners of the jewelry field, instructors, lenders, consultants, marketers, all sorts of different perspectives. And we really get a lot from the insights from our guest judges. This year, we're really excited to work with Michelle Moyer, who runs a teaching studio school out of the Phoenix, Arizona area called KP Studio. Michelle is an awesome, awesome lady who started this instruction facility and is a big part of our Arizona metalsmithing community. So we're so excited to work with her. If you have questions about the grant, though, definitely direct those to us. Michelle is not going to be able to field those for you independently. She'll probably just refer you back to us. So don't reach out to her with your questions, but I just want you all to know who she is and what an awesome part of our community she is as well. We spend a lot of time with grant applications. We read every one of them multiple times. Applications are independently reviewed and scored by each judge. And then when our guest judge comes for the final week, which is really, really intense, we have these rounds of meetings where we go into the meeting room, we discuss every applicant, we discuss the peer group and what we see collectively among all the applicants every year. And then we go back and we do a little bit more independent review time on our own. And then we go back into the meeting room, we have more discussions. And really it comes down to evaluating which businesses are most likely to succeed in the long term. That's usually the defining questions that we move through as we identify finalists and the winner. So which of these businesses has the tools, has the plan, has the grit and the tenacity to stick with this even when it gets tough? And those are all conversations that we spend a lot of time on and put a lot of thought into. All right, so now is the time to be putting those questions in the chat for Kelly. And while she's compiling those, I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of information about Halstead. If you've never bought from us before, we are a full supply resource for jewelers. We provide chain and findings and parts, everything you can need to really supply a lot of the activity in your studio. So we really hope you'll check us out this week. So we're on to our Q&A. I just want to give a quick reminder. We're not going to talk about individual eligibility scenarios in the public session. So if you have any questions about your particular story, your eligibility, we ask that you email those to us at grant@halsteadb.com so we can give you a very personal response to that. But right now, Kelly's going to kick some questions about the grant in general. Kelly, what do you got?
I don't have a ton of questions, so please post some more if you have them.
Well, I hope we answered all the questions. That was the goal. Like,
I know you did really good. So one question was about, you know, that you have to be in your first 5 years of business, which is true for our grant, but I did at one point post in the chat, and I'm going to post it again. We do have a blog on our Halstead site that Sylvie wrote, and it gives you a list of literally all the jewelry business grant opportunities that we've found. So if you aren't eligible for our grant, one of these you might be eligible for. And now some grants are coming through. So I think you covered this, but I want to go over it again. Is the grant only for participants from the US?
Yes, it is. And I get how painful that is. So the reason for that is, I talked a little bit about this earlier, but our leadership team who judges the grant and our guest judges are from the US jewelry fields. And we have a lot of experience here in the United States market. But this is not just a design competition. We don't just judge submissions based on slides and your jewelry collection. We really base this competition on a full business strategy. And every national market is so unique. Every cultural market is so unique that we just don't have the experience in all of those different international geographic areas to fairly assess which startups are likely to be most successful in those different countries. It's very different from country to country. It's not apples to apples. So as a business plan competition, that's just not something we feel that we can tackle fairly for applicants. So that's why we stick with the US market for this particular award. We hope that you find the resources really, really helpful, and we definitely encourage you to access those and use them as much as you possibly can.
Thank you, Hilary. Okay, another one is, how is the judging weighted? This person specifically asked design first / business plan. Heavily weighted in the business plan, but you can kind of elaborate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we really kind of talk about applicants as whole packages, right? And so, I mean, I'd say off the cuff, like 50-50, but it's not like a mathematical formula or anything like that precise. The quality of the jewelry, the execution of the design, and also originality, all of those things come into play, but they come into play very much in combination with the business strategy around them. So we need to kind of assess if a business makes sense, if the work presented is consistent with the strategy that goes along with it. So all of that matters, and it matters a great deal.
Kind of a question about eligibility. It says, first few years of 5 years in business, can it be part-time? When you apply, do you have to be full-time in the business?
No, not at all. And in fact, most of our applicants are still part-time. We just want to make sure that you have a plan to take it full-time and that you've kind of thought through the financials and the goalposts to get you there. So that's totally fine. You can be part-time when you apply. A lot of jewelers have to kind of ease into this because you have to be receiving, you know, regular income and or benefits as you kind of try and get this thing launched off the ground. So that's totally normal, no worries.
Okay, next question. What if your business includes other disciplines? How do we address that in our business planning portion? Do we have to be solely jewelry designers to be eligible?
No, we have other applicants in the past who have been either multimedia artists themselves or also been selling the work of other jewelers or artists. So that's okay.
Yeah, I think, some people, they dabble in different things. We've had people, when I think about finalists, that do sell like paintings or illustrations with their jewelry. I would say jewelry has to be probably a big chunk of your business. If you're more of, a clothing retailer or something like that, and jewelry is a more small part, that probably wouldn't, you'd still be eligible, but we would want a jewelry designer is who we want to award to. They're saying volume or financially as in chunk.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
As far as if you do something outside of jewelry, would she's asking in volume or financially would be your big chunk. I guess I said chunk. I think it would be both. If you had a full, sorry, I am also one of the Halstead Grant judges.
Yeah, we should have made that clear at the beginning. You're right.
So I've been judging, this will be my 6th year judging. The jewelry doesn't have to bring in your highest volume or be your most financially stable item that you sell. But I would say if you only have 2 pieces of jewelry and then the rest of your inventory is something else and there's 100 of something else, I would say you're not just a jewelry business. You'd probably be recognized as some other type of business. If you want to email service@halsteadb.com specifically about your business, I can look at it and let you know my thoughts on eligibility. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, does anybody else have any other questions for me or Hilary? Okay, people are asking about gold filled and sterling. How much of your collection has to be silver, and what are our thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be a significant part of the collection. There's not like a set percentage point. We have had applicants in the past who maybe just have a couple of token pieces of silver that makes us wonder if they did it just so they could apply for the grant. If it's not like a credible part of your business, you're probably not going to pull it off. Again, we want to make sure that this is open to different kinds of jewelers that are covered by a lot of the fine jewelry awards out there. So it's totally fine to use other materials. We have people who also have collections in gold filled, in karat gold, in platinum, in mixed media, all kinds of things. So that's fine, but we want to see just kind of a solid silver collection that's really clearly part of the business.
Yeah, that question was specifically half gold fill, half sterling. Yes, the significant amount of your collection is sterling. And then somebody asked about, can your collection be in CAD at first? We've been seeing more and more of this. People, we don't just get people who apply for their grant that are traditional, like metalsmiths or gold fit smiths. We are seeing more CAD come into it. Hilary, did you want to say any thoughts on CAD?
Yeah, what I would add to that is, so CAD is great. Don't get me wrong. I think you can do amazing things with CAD, but we also have some CAD applicants who don't come from a fabrication background, and they struggle a little bit more kind of with the design and some of the challenges of making jewelry when they haven't done fabrication. So I would say CAD is a great tool, but you need those solid fundamentals in jewelry making in other more hands-on studio ways as well. So we know there are a lot of jewelry programs out there that aren't teaching fabrication in the same way they used to. They're only teaching CAD design. But there are some really unique challenges to CAD designs and collections when you take them out into the jewelry market. And so those are some things that we'd urge you to really look into and take seriously. If you start fabricating jewelry, you very quickly see some of the technical issues that you may not have realized before if you were strictly working in a CAD environment. So the realities of fabrication and studio work are pretty unique, and you need that hands-on time. So we see Jewelers who are very capable in both ways, in fabrication and CAD. Those jewelers tend to do really, really well. If your experience is only in CAD, I would encourage you to get into the studio. I really would. I know that's tough to hear, and it's kind of something that's debated in the jewelry trade a lot, but there are real limitations to CAD design and manufactured work. So take those seriously and know what you're competing against too.
We have a question of why put limits on your grant? Someone who's been in the business for over 9 years. I'll kind of start it because even with the 5-year limit, you're not comparing apples to apples. If you've been in the business for 9 years, you have way more experience than someone who's been in it for two years. Even though the market is changing all the time, it's really hard to compare. And that's why we do it in the first 5 years of business, but we really urge people to maybe wait a year or two before applying. Because even just comparing someone in their first year to 5 years, it's very hard to compare. Did you want to add anything to that?
Agreed. And this was designed to be a foundation experience for people entering the field. So that's really kind of the way we designed the entire kind of business plan process as part of the grant. And in the early days, studio schools and university programs were kind of presenting this as a post-completion like step to fill in the business skills and kind of fill that gap, because a lot of jewelry programs don't tackle the business side at all. They just really focus on the studio side, on the craftsmanship side, which is great. And then this is kind of a supplement to that experience. Now, like I said, a lot of people are self-taught too. There are so many ways to learn to make jewelry. All of those pathways are totally welcome. But again, this particular experience is kind of designed as like a kickstart, a foundation. And there are other mid-career and design competitions out there that are more broad in terms of eligibility. And again, Kelly put that link earlier in the chat conversation, so you can kind of connect with some of those other competitions and opportunities. There's some really cool stuff out there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of different grants, and when Sylvie came up with this article, I mean, there was few that I hadn't ever heard about. So it really is, if you aren't eligible for the Halstead grant, you're probably eligible for a few of these other grants listed in this blog. So definitely check it out. Well, I just wanted to probably close it out unless anybody has any more questions for me or Hilary. We love judging the grant. It is so fun. And again, the big change this year is that the grant applications are due May 1st. So make sure that you get it all ready. You start planning now, download the application now, and just start wrapping your brain around it. It does take, a couple months to fill out. You are writing a full business plan. And if you haven't tackled your financials or some of these other things, you're going to need some time.
Not full-time, too much.
Oh, no.
In little bites.
a few hours a week. Sorry about that. Scared you.
That's okay. No, because I said the same thing. Like, start early, in that way, like you can kind of dig in for a little while, and then when you top out and you reach a stopping point, you can take a break and get away from it too. So yeah, it's the perfect time to start JBF week.
Thank you. And yeah, Michelle, it's postmarked by May 1st. So it might come to us a few days later. So thank you all for attending. This is the end of day 1 of the Jewelry Business Forum. There is not a daily wrap up today, but make sure tomorrow afternoon in this time slot, me and Ashley will be here doing some wrap ups for the day, giveaways, and talking about trends. I know a couple people posted in the lobby about permanent jewelry, and tomorrow's wrap up is when we will be talking about permanent jewelry. So thank you all for a great day and have a good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.